Hello community, we are back with another little video. So this video is going to be very quick, okay? Because I once again did not charge my phone and it's low on battery, okay? So this video will not be long. But I want to talk about a video that I saw that Anton just posted an hour ago. And the title of it is called Texas Retroactive Child Support. Men are going to be held more responsible. Texas pushing for retroactive child support for women. Okay, well, let's look at what that means. In Texas, hold on, sorry. Well, I guess that doesn't really make a difference, but anyway, in Texas, retroactive child support is generally limited to the 4 years prior to the filing of the child support petition. However, in some cases, the court may consider going back further, especially if there's evidence that the obligated parent knew or should have known they were the father and deliberately avoided supporting the child. Let's see. Texas courts generally presume that retroactive child support should be ordered back to the 4 years preceding the date the support case was filed. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so when deciding a retroactive support, the court will consider factors such as the obligated parent's resources, whether they knew or should have known they were the father, and whether ordering back payments would cause undue hardship. Okay, once ordered, retroactive child support can be enforced through various methods, including wage garnishment, tax refund, interception, liens on property, and even driver's license suspension, according to countyoffice.org. Okay, I wanted to see if anything was passed today. Well, okay, let's read this just real quick. So this is something posted by Fox. Texas bill would allow child support to begin from contraception. Let's watch this real quick. Okay, never mind. The brief. Under Texas SB 942, a judge could order retroactive child support payments beginning on the date of contraception. Okay, sorry. Conception, not contraception. Conception. The bill has passed the Senate and has to make it through the House before being signed by the governor. Fathers could be ordered to pay retroactive child support from the moment of conception under a bill that passed the Texas Senate this week. Okay, so that's just a little bit of background. Okay, so we kind of have some understanding as to what all is going on. Okay, so it's on the date of conception instead of birth. So now people are really going to have to be on top of that, right? Okay, so the father would be responsible for a share of reasonable and necessary prenatal and postnatal health care expenses. Paternity would have to be established. The date of conception would be determined by a doctor or through other evidence, such as parents' testimony. Okay, so, parents' testimony may include things such as, well, how would you prove it? Whether it's through video, whether it's through text, and, some type of conversation, and the person acknowledging to prove it, right? Or it would be by a doctor, right? So I guess, yeah. Now, let's look at the date of conception. Let's look that up. Okay, so it says the day of conception is a day when the sperm fertilizes the egg. Okay. So, in a sense, this would mean that both parties would have to be on top of, the day that all of this had occurred. Now, some people are and some people are not. For instance, like some people, when they, some people have like pregnancy symptoms and some people don't, right? But anyway, that's just a little bit of background information regarding this. And so this will be some of the, I guess, things that maybe she would go in for some type of procedures, right? Now let's just look up on average expected mothers typically go between 10 to 15 medical visits during their pregnancy. These visits are crucial for monitoring. Now, this is just on average. Like, you guys, you know, depending on whatever, may have more or less, right? Let's see. The average cost of prenatal care in the United States is roughly $2,000, but this can vary significantly depending on factors like insurance coverage, the number of doctor visits, and the necessary tests or procedures. Okay, so now, if this is the case, this is probably going to make people more cautious and conscious of who it is that they are laying down with, right? Because now, right? Because conception doesn't necessarily prove, I would say, paternity. However, the women would get retroactive pay, right? If come to find out the individual is the father. Okay, so that's just what that means. Let's look at a quick little video by Anton Daniels and friends.
Dear Dr. K.
This is just going to be a commercial. Okay.
Went into effect, and y'all know I'm here for it. Texas has a new law, SB 942. A father will be responsible for paying retroactive child support starting from the date of conception. This bill seeks to ensure both parents contribute to the financial responsibility of pregnancy, including medical expenses. The topic has sparked passionate responses from both legal experts and community members. With child support in the state of Texas, it only looks at one parent's income as the one paying support.
Okay. What do y'all think about that?
This is ridiculous.
What is Texas doing?
I just want to know, are they going to be like auditing both parents to make sure that from the point of conception that they're both making financial contributions to the child? Because I don't.
For clarity, is this a mandatory thing? I didn't hear her say, was it a mandatory thing that they're putting on?
Coming into discussions. I think it's dumb, honestly. I'm just going to be honest. Like, how are you going to charge? Like, how are they going to prove that person's the daddy?
I was going to say that. I think that if they're worried about, I don't think that it should be retroactive until the date, like from the date of conception. I think that it should be from the moment that paternity is established. Because it just doesn't make, I don't know, it just doesn't make sense to me. And I was just talking to someone about this a few days ago. In Florida, there's such thing as pregnancy Medicaid. So a lot of the expenses that are covered or that are incurred over the pregnancy period, everyone is eligible for pregnancy Medicaid in Florida. So I don't know what it is in Texas, but from the date of conception is a little extreme even for me, like being pro-life and all that. I think it should be from the moment that paternity is established, which you can do that while the baby is still in utero or when the baby is born.
Okay, so if that's the case then, right, then there really shouldn't be anything wrong with them establishing the day on conception, because again, it's retroactive, meaning they would have to then prove who's the father indeed, and if they are the father, right? Because this is the general idea is that regardless, you guys may not get married, that's whatever, but it still takes two people to, you know, a village to raise a family, right? In a sense, like they always say, why, like Anton always talks about, why should the child have to suffer for the sins or, you know, transgressions of the parents, right? So, and, you know, it's easier for a man to leave because he doesn't have a womb that, in a sense, you know, helps to, I would say, bake the baby, right? Okay, so going back to the fact that it's retroactive and they would have to then prove, right, paternity, meaning once it's realized that this person is in fact the dad, they should understand that if a person's laying down with, if two people are laying down together who are capable of having a child and conceiving a baby, then they have a 50% chance that, you know, there's a possibility that you may get pregnant. Now you can look at the statistics, right? Depending on all the different colorful ways, right? But I would just say 50% because you may or may not. That's what I mean, right? Yeah, people can control things as much as they think, but at the end of the day, there's something called divine timing, okay? Now, going back to what I was saying. So it shouldn't matter, right? If people qualify with their health insurance and all that, then that should be what comes first. Always looking at what's, you know, what type of health insurance both parents have, right? But it shouldn't matter. They shouldn't be so focused on, oh, well, they shouldn't happen until, you know, the day that the baby's actually now, you know, what's it called? Here, right? In the, they're now starting on conception date, right? Because they kept in mind that this individual has expenses, right? And sometimes, right, depending on whatever type of situation, because not every mother has a happy pregnancy, especially in the Black community where there's a lot of health risk for Black women, no matter how young or old you are. So if there are times where, say, for example, she can't work, right, and to have just another help to, in a sense, make sure that the living baby, see, we have to keep in mind, you don't want the abortions, but yet you just kind of don't keep in mind that the baby is still a baby. You know what I'm saying? But anyways, so if the mom, for whatever, is not feeling well, right, it still took two people to lay down. So that is the, in a sense, risk. And I think this is better because, in a sense, it gives people a realistic idea that, okay, you're having potentially, this is someone who you may be, in a sense, tied to for a certain period of time. Because it's not saying that, oh, you're going to be paying for a wannabe, meaning, or not wannabe, but meaning it may be or may not be yours. No, they're saying that it's proven now you have to go back and help pay for some of the expenses because she still had to come out of her pocket. We are not giving her like a pat on, or like a pass. No, we're holding her accountable and we're holding the other party accountable. Now, I'm curious to see what all else these other people have to say, because right now I can see why they're in this chat room, because they tend to share a similar mindset with their, friend. Anton and friends. Let's go.
So,
This is why I always say marry before you carry. You marry before you carry, you don't gotta really worry about this as much.
yes, you do. The woman be cheating and trifling too.
And see, that's a good, in a sense, like, because those are her traditional values. That's a good little lesson in, like, staying to pass down on your kids, because it gives them the idea and the mindset that, going back to what they have implemented in Texas, which honestly, I believe in smart laws that make sense. Meaning, I think this is smart if it's starting, retroactive, meaning once it's proven, right? You have to prove it, right? So once it's proven, then yeah, both parties need to be accountable, because it's like it took two people to make a baby, right? The baby should have, the resources, right? Okay, because if mom doesn't work, you're going to call her lazy and whatnot. Okay, so if dad's not working, he's okay. You get what I'm saying? You want to use same words for one party, you have to use it for the next, right? It's about accountability. And I think this holds people accountability, and it gives, especially, young people, right, a more realistic understanding and insight into reality, as far as, okay, yeah, you may want to be with this body, this body, this body, this body, but if you get that body, that body, that body, that body, just understand that you're going to have to pay, okay? So this holds, I feel like it will help to decrease on the amount of, people trying to create many different households and not have the financial resources to actually support and pour back into the kid. Because yeah, you can make a kid, but like there's so much more, right? And you shouldn't be complaining about the money, because like I said, it's about accountability. Okay, yeah, you don't want to be a dad, but if the kid is here, right? Because again, that's one of the costs that you must count before you go along down that road. Does that make sense? That's what we're talking about, being realistic. And I think that this helps, this would help give people more of a realistic understanding. Especially, since if, due to laws being changed and whatnot, and you're having more, what's it called? Like, preventative treatment being decreased and removed. Therefore, there needs to be something that helps to, in a sense, help bring some type of balance. Okay.
And
Those might be more attention to where we're laying down with at the end of the day. Do you think this is going to help men pay attention more to who they're sleeping with?
Yeah, men need to just.
I don't think it's gonna.
Because at this point, they gonna get tricked out their position for real. This is gonna.
I did just read it though. It says that paternity would have to be established for the retroactive child support payments to start. So they're not doing this ideally.
Okay, so she said paternity will have to be established, right? Now, see, people may not realize it until, like, once it starts really coming out their pocket and they start hitting them in the pocket, then they're going to be like, oh, yeah, no, they're going to be serious about it, right?
And from the moment that y'all got pregnant, whatever date that was, now you need to start contributing to that. But again, like Jerry said, like there's programs and things, so I don't really know, like, what kind of is the equal.
Is she serious? Did that really come out of her mouth? Okay, let me rewind this because I just cannot believe that thing came out of her mouth. Girl, are you serious? And I want to say, is she married? Oh my God. Okay, hold on one second.
Payments to start. So they're not doing this ideally to men who aren't the father. This is supposed to be paternity is established. Okay, now that we know you're the dad, from the moment that y'all got pregnant, whatever date that was, now you need to start contributing to that. But again, like Jerry said, like there's programs and things, so I don't really know, like,
there's programs. Honey, did you not see how many people got cut, right, in government, and how many DEI programs have left, right? And realistically, there are programs, but there are limited positions, right? I don't understand why you don't like